In today's film, it is shown how a girl's boyfriend meets his other two friends and rapes him. And after that, how will that girl take revenge on these three? Let's know. The movie starts with the story, and we are shown a rich man named Richard, who is going to a desert area with his girlfriend Jennifer. Now, because Richard is already married, he still has his relationship with Jennifer. Now, Richard has come to this desert area with Jennifer for 2 days because he had to hunt here. Now, when Richard reaches his house, his pilot welcomes him there and gives him a drug. Now, Richard comes inside the house. Here, Richard and Jennifer start getting intimate with each other. Now, the next morning, Jennifer wakes up and makes coffee for herself. Then she sees that 2 men are standing in front of the mirror, and both of them have guns in their hands. Now, Jennifer is very scared to see them, she says, and starts calling out to Richard. Now, after this, Richard arrives here and tells Jennifer that they are both his friends. Now, the names of these two are Stanley and David, and they both came here to hunt together with Richard. Now, Stanley starts staring at Jennifer with his dirty eyes. Now, seeing all this, Jennifer doesn't feel good, so she goes inside the room. Now, Richard tells his friends that this girl, Jennifer, is his friend, and at the same time, he also explains to his friends that his wife knows about this, and they all start drinking together. Now, Stanley starts flirting with Jennifer, and David starts staring at Jennifer's body parts with his binoculars. Now, in the meantime, they see those drugs in Richard's hands. Now, Jennifer asks Richard, "What do you have?" Now, after that, Richard starts telling them about this drug, and he tells them that this drug is very dangerous because once a man had consumed it, and after that, he got so drunk that he cut his leg and ate it. And because of this, all the blood in his body was removed, and he was killed. Now, after this, Richard gives this drug to Jennifer and tells her to keep it properly hidden. Now, after this, Jennifer hides that drug in her locket. Now, after this, Jennifer starts the music and asks Richard to dance with her. But Richard refuses to dance with her, so she starts dancing with Stanley. Now, after dancing for a while, these people go to their room to sleep. Now, the next morning, when Jennifer's eyes open, she can't see Richard anywhere. Now, Jennifer asks Stanley about Richard, on which Stanley says that he has gone somewhere with my passport and maybe he will come back by noon. And now, David is also very drunk, and that's why we are both alone in this house. Now Stanley says this to her and starts staring at her with his lustful eyes. Now, seeing this, Jennifer doesn't like it, so she goes inside the house from there. Now, Stanley also quietly follows her after that and sees her changing her clothes. Now, after this, Jennifer sees him, and she gets very scared. Now, after this, Stanley goes to Jennifer and says to her that, "What do you think about me?" Now, Jennifer says to him that you are not my type, but Stanley says to her that last night you danced with me, so I thought that maybe you like me. Jennifer says to him that I danced with you like this only, and I don't like you. Now, Stanley gets angry hearing this from Jennifer and starts forcing her. Now, in the meantime, David reaches here and he sees Stanley doing all these things with Jennifer. Jennifer thinks that maybe David will save her, but he goes from there by closing the door without saying anything. And after that, Stanley starts to rape Jennifer. Now, after this, we are shown coming to Richard, and he comes home and finds that Jennifer was crying here. Now, Richard sees Jennifer crying and calms her down, but Jennifer tells him to call a helicopter immediately. I have to go from here. But Richard starts to explain to Jennifer here and tells her to sleep. Now, the next day, Richard comes home, and he says to her that I've put a lot of money in your account. Also, he says to her that whatever my friend did to you, you should forget it. Now, hearing this, Jennifer gets angry at him and asks him to call a helicopter immediately, because here, Richard is only taking care of his friend. Now Jennifer starts packing her things. After this, Richard says to Jennifer that you are so beautiful that no man will be able to stop himself from seeing you. And this has happened with my friend too. He must not have been able to stop himself from seeing you. And that's why he is so angry. But after hearing this, Jennifer gets very angry and she starts telling Richard and herself about her wife. Now, Richard hits her hard after hearing this, and after that Jennifer tries to run away from there. But those three friends start following her. Jennifer reaches a mountain while running, and she stops here. And in the meantime, those three people also reach here, and these three start telling her not to run from here. Then Richard starts calling the helicopter, but he was really not calling the helicopter. Instead, he was showing Jennifer that Jennifer comes into Richard's talks. But then Richard pushes her down a little bit, so that Jennifer goes down and falls on a sharp wood that crosses her body. And seeing this, these three friends feel that maybe Jennifer has been killed now. After this, Stanley says to Richard, "Why did you do this?" On which Richard says to him that if he runs away from here, the three of us could have been jailed, and that's why I had to kill him. He also tells his friends to forget about what just happened here. After this, these three friends come home and start burning Jennifer's things, so that they erase all the evidence of Jennifer's arrival here. On the other hand, we are shown that Jennifer is still alive. Now the next day, these three friends were about to go to destroy Jennifer's body completely, but they didn't know that Jennifer is still alive. On the other hand, now when Jennifer comes to her senses, she sees that her body is covered with a piece of wood, and a piece of wood has come out of her stomach. Now, after this, Jennifer starts trying to pick up her lighter from her earphone, but because of the fire, that piece of wood burns, and Jennifer falls down. And after that, she comes behind a colored stone and hides. Now, when these three friends reach that place, they find that Jennifer's body is not here. Now, seeing this, these three friends are quite surprised, and they understand that Jennifer is still alive. After this, the three of them start looking for Jennifer. These three spend a lot of night looking for Jennifer, and after this, they see the marks of Jennifer's blood, and these three friends find Jennifer's body. Following that mark, these three friends reach a river, and after reaching here, these three friends start looking for Jennifer separately. On the other hand, while looking for Jennifer, David stands up to toilet in one place, and he puts his gun there. But in the meantime, Jennifer reaches here, and she picks up his gun and points it at him. Jennifer is about to shoot him, but that gun is locked. Now, after this, David snatches the gun from Jennifer, and he tries to drown her in the water and kill her. But while doing this, David's knife comes into Jennifer's hands, and after this, Jennifer gives that knife to him in anger. After this, David starts screaming, and as a result, he dies there. Now, after this, Jennifer takes out that knife from his eye and keeps it with her. Later, Jennifer takes out her gun, her bike, and the rest of the stuff from there, and she reaches a cave. Now, Jennifer here first burns the fire, and after this, she starts checking David's bag. Jennifer finds a beer can in this bag, and she starts drinking it here. Jennifer was in a lot of pain here. That's why she takes that drug out of her locket which Richard gave her. Jennifer takes that drug, and it ends her pain. After that, Jennifer takes out that piece of wood that got into her stomach, and to stop the blood from her body, she heats that beer can bottle, and she puts it on her wound. The next morning, when Stanley goes to the river to wash his face, David's body comes in front of him. Now, seeing him, he gets very scared and starts running away from there. In the meantime, Richard also reaches here. He takes that dead body out. After that, he fills stones in that dead body and throws it back into the river. Now Richard gets angry with Stanley here, and he punches him, which breaks his nose. Because of Stanley, one of his friends was killed. On the other hand, when Jennifer comes to her senses and she wakes up, she finds that her wound has now completely healed. Now, after this, as soon as Jennifer leaves the cave, Richard comes there and breaks Jennifer's head with a gun. But this is just a dream. Now, after this, Jennifer wakes up. Then, Jennifer starts to see David's body here. Jennifer starts to hallucinate here, because Jennifer still couldn't get rid of that drug completely. But now, finally, Jennifer's eyes open, and now she had come out of that drug. Now, after this, Jennifer picks up her gun and starts looking around from a distance. On the other hand, Richard and Stanley are watching from a distance, and Stanley decides that they will go and find Jennifer separately. After this, Richard leaves from there, and Stanley takes out a mirror and starts looking at his face. But because of Stanley's reflection of this mirror, Jennifer sees him from a distance, and she understands that there is someone there. After this, when Jennifer reaches there, she finds that it was Stanley. Now, in the meantime, the petrol of Stanley's car runs out here, and he comes out of the car to put petrol in the car. Then, Jennifer shoots him with her gun. But this bullet is her gun misses, and Stanley starts running wounded. Now, only then does he find that his bloodstains are lying on the ground behind him, and that's why Stanley takes out his shoes. And he takes out his muzzle and puts it on his wound. After that, Stanley runs away from there, and he comes behind a stone and hides. Now, only then, Jennifer comes here and starts looking for Stanley. But in the meantime, Stanley tries to come behind him and shoot him with a gun. But that bullet hits Jennifer's ear. Now Jennifer starts running from here, and Stanley starts following her. Jennifer, while running, drops some pieces of glass on the ground, and these glass pieces get into Stanley's feet. Now Stanley takes those pieces of glass out of his feet and starts following Jennifer with his car. But then Jennifer shoots Stanley, and Stanley is killed. Now, after this, Jennifer takes Stanley's car and leaves from here for Richard's house. On the other hand, Richard also does not find Jennifer, and so he also comes home. Coming home, he calls his pilot and tells him to come here immediately. Now, after this, Richard goes to the bathroom to take a bath. When Richard is taking a bath here, then he hears someone outside. So Richard picks up his gun and goes to check outside. But when he goes outside, he finds that there is no one here. So when Richard comes inside his house, he finds that outside, Jennifer is standing with a gun pointed at him. He tries to talk to Jennifer, but then Jennifer starts shooting him so that a bullet hits Richard's stomach. Richard is injured from there, so he tries to run away from there, and Jennifer starts following him. But then Richard catches Jennifer and tries to press his throat. But Jennifer gives her finger in his wound, and by this, Richard leaves Jennifer. Now, Jennifer picks up her gun and shoots Richard's head, and by this, Richard dies there. And in this way, Jennifer's revenge was complete. Now, after this, Jennifer comes out of the house, where that helicopter had also arrived, to which Richard had called, and this is where this movie ends. So friends, if you liked the video, then subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thanks for watching.